Jerry Reynolds began hosting the Car Pro show over 25 years ago in the Dallas-Fort Worth market. From there, Jerry began adding cities and is now heard on 14 stations in Texas and 66 nationwide. The Car Pro show is recognized as the most popular show of its kind, owing to Jerry's down-to-earth manner, which is embodied in his creed: straight talk and honest answers about everything automotive. The depth of Jerry's knowledge comes from owning and operating multiple auto dealerships in Dallas over a 35-year period. During that time, he served as the only two-term chairman of the Ford National Dealers Council. He was also named USA Today's Dealer of the Year twice, and he is a 5-time winner of the Texas Auto Writers Award for Best Radio Show. Please welcome Jerry Reynolds to the Texas Radio Hall of Fame.
Well, I want to start by saying that being here today is truly one of the greatest honors of my life, and I know all the ladies and gentlemen over there will attest to that. Being in this Hall of Fame is a lifelong dream of mine, and I know I've been blessed in my life because I've had 2 very successful careers. The car business was very, very good to me for a long time, but by 2006, you could feel things starting to slow down, and frankly, I was a little bit tired, and I was sort of burned out. I sold my interest in a chain of dealerships, and right after that, the financial crash hit. And I will tell you, it is better to be lucky than good, because all my friends all over the country kept saying, "How'd you know to get out?" Got lucky. In 2001, I started broadcasting live on this really crummy radio station. It was Fox Sports in Dallas. The only advertisers on the station were strip clubs and sporting gambling sites. But I called it the Car Guy Show, and I invited people to call in and ask me car questions. And I promised them one thing: I'd tell them the truth. No holds barred, pull back the curtain. If it happened inside a car dealership, I would tell them about it. They always wanted to know the same thing. What happens when the salesman leaves and goes back to talk to the Wizard of Oz? I always told them the truth. But I didn't know squat about radio, except that was the only medium I had ever used to advertise my dealerships. So I decided I needed a co-host. Kevin McCarthy was on the beach. And I called him and I said, "I got this idea. Now, I can't pay you, but I'll tell you what, I'll give you a new car to drive if you'll help me kick this thing off," and he agreed. Sadly, that new expedition came back in a twisted pile of metal because nobody told me Kevin can't drive. He got his driver's license at Walmart, I swear. He's the worst driver I've ever been around. But we get ready to go, and the horrors of 9/11 happened the very week we were supposed to start. So we pushed it back a couple of weeks, and then we started the Car Guy Show. The mics came on. I heard the announcer say for the first time, "And here's the car guy, Jerry Reynolds." My mouth opened. Nothing came out. Seriously, not a sound came out. And that was probably the moment I was the most glad that I had Kevin, because he jumped in, he saved the day. But the main thing we learned was that people called, and they called in big numbers. And that was the test. 6 months later, we moved to the big time, to WBAP. And that was 24 years ago. But somewhere along the way, a guy named Tom Haynes came to my office and he said, "Hey, let's take this thing out of Dallas." That was about 15 years ago. And as you heard the announcer here say a minute ago, we're all over the country. We're on big stations. We're on a lot of stations in Texas, KNX in Los Angeles. So I have a lot of people to thank. I got to thank Kevin McCarthy. He was on air with me for 23 years, every weekend. I'd have never done this without me. He taught me a lot. He taught me everything about radio. He taught me that I could eat a sandwich, take a call, and hit a station ID all within 10 seconds. No idea you could do that. Then after Kevin decided to retire last year, Todd Chambliss joined me. He's been with me since, although he was with me in production for many years before that. Tom Haynes and his crew in Houston at Acuity, they took the show national, and boy, did they ever do a good job. I've got to thank Amy Plemons. She's been an invaluable asset with Acuity. And I had the honor, and I mean this was an honor, to be a student of a Hall of Famer himself, Tommy Kramer, as my talk radio coach. I've got to thank my family for their support. My wife, Kelly, encouraged me to pursue my radio dream. And, of course, if I had not have been in her hair all day long, every single day, after selling the dealerships. So I love you, honey. Thank you for that. And a special thanks to my nephew, Connor Ellis. I taught him to say the Pledge of Allegiance when he was just 3 years old, and I was so lucky that day I captured it on tape, live. I've played that on the air of what's now the Car Pro show at the end of every single show. And that's been going on for well over 20 years now. And he's here today. Thank you. He's here today with his beautiful wife, Kelsey. They came all the way from Oklahoma City, two successful attorneys up there. And got to thank my sister-in-law, Molly Ellis, Connor's mom, for sharing him with us all these years, especially after we lost our son in 2013. So thanks, Molly. It's an honor beyond words to be here today among so much talent and all the great names that came before me. Radio has given me more blessings than I certainly ever deserved. And this one today, the biggest of all. Thank you so much.